Good evening, everyone. Well, it says there's 13 people waiting. That's cool. Wendy, Judy, good evening to you guys. Thanks very much. The first thing I'm going to do, Judy, for you when you sell your house is make you buy a new wristwatch. You need one. Box room, no room for a fan. Oh dear. Hi, Wendy. Yeah, it's really cooking in here tonight. I tell you, I've got the windows shut because there's noises, of course, outside. I've got the screens down so I can't vent it. And I've got to, of course, shut all the doors and stuff for other activities in the house. So it's one of those. I'm afraid I've got to just get really... And I can't have a fan in here because everything will blow everywhere. So that really does put the mockers on that. Okay, well, we did have 13. We've gone down to 8, so I've probably upset one or two people already. Way to go. All right, so Venice. We're still waiting for a few more people I know will come on. And I'm not sure how many will be here tonight, actually, because it's really, really hot. And I'm guessing some people are really out and about, still enjoying their day. There's no need to come in yet. And so, yeah. We shall see anyway. But oh no, I was so chuffed at logging on. I decided to stay for I love it. That's cool, Judy. Well done. Yeah, actually, I've got to say, Wendy, that it's already rumbling over the back here. I was getting ready for this about half an hour ago, and there was some sort of rumbles going on in the distance. So, Anne, good evening to you. Jean, good evening to you. Derek, good evening, sir. Ben, good evening to you, sir. Old Jean from California, that's so good. Thank you so much for taking the trouble. I don't know how your heat is over there right now. We are touching close to records again. I think they said it was recorded at 38 degrees in Heathrow today, and so that's getting pretty close to where we were before. Just giving a few more people a chance to log on before we crack on. So yes, anyway, a delightfully hot day. Do you know, I was just melting in my gallery today, absolutely melting. So at 3:30 I shut the doors, turned the fans off, nothing was any effect, and so I just locked the doors and came home. On the way home I bought a new drone. Got to do these things. All right, Teresa, good evening to you, and yeah, looking forward to this one myself. And where else are we? Alexander, thank you very much for joining us from Poland. I'm not sure what time it is out there right now, but good evening to you. Thank you for coming along. Yeah, Heathrow, that's right, Judy. It's 38 degrees. Michael, good evening to you, sir. Thanks for joining us. Not to worry, it was very quickly and we will make amends. Ben, we must get to grips with these cameras one of these days, my friend. I can't stop them keep going off and having to record the stream each time. Not a big deal. All right, so now this one tonight, it's quite a complicated one. It's not an easy subject really, but I hope that I can do it justice. I did actually start it a couple of years ago in oil. Never got it finished, but I must try and find the panel and see if I can resurrect the painting. It would be nice. But I felt also to make a really nice... oh, it's 8 PM over there. Okay, so you're only an hour ahead. Forgive my lack of knowledge on such things. My geography is awful. Alan, thank you very much. Yeah, so anyway, this is a very elongated panel. Now the problem I'm gonna have tonight, if I'm gonna have any problems at all, is the fact that this is very dry, very not humid, but it's just very dry. I suppose it is humid too with the threatening storm, but the problem that I've got is that it's going to dry up on me. So my washes, I've got to really watch the washes. I've got to watch everything I do, because if I'm following the bead down the canvas, it's going to start wanting to dry up on me very, very quickly. So I've got to be really careful. Anyway, let's get started. There's a slight change around to the pictures and the bits, and hopefully I can't do this normally on a landscape, but on an upright piece, then I can show you more of the panel and the painting processes and the colours that we are using. But before I jump the gun with that, let's talk about drawing this darn thing. Okay, so let's look for the one with the lead in, which would be good. Bear with me, let me get underway. Right, okay. Suze, good evening to you. Maine, wow, we are certainly getting some international viewership this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, Suze. That's fantastic. Sue, good evening to you as well. Alright, so let's get underway. Now, there are one or two aspects of this picture, such as the little archway at the top of the corner. I might put that in, I might not. It's a great way and divisively keeping people into the picture and then coming down with the wall underneath. So I'm just going to suggest it literally, quite literally. That's if we've got any lead in the pencil there. Alright, just a little angle across there. And then I can bring this wall down through here. Very, very carefully down so far, and then I'm going to have to blot out a bit of my picture, I'm afraid. It's so tall, this reference, that I can't see too well. So I'm going to actually enlarge the reference over and above what I can see of you guys on the screen. So just work with me for a minute, if you would, and that will hopefully give me a little bit better image. All right, okay, let's carry on. Mark, good evening to you. Okay, yeah, let's get going. This is all good. Right, so picture, wall, little doors in the thing, and they are very, very extreme. If you were to try and paint the lintels, they are quite extreme. So you're just going to paint small slits. They become your doors, and you've got a very sharp angle to infinity. You could plot the line to infinity wherever you want the thing to go if you wish to, or you can put your pencil or pen on the actual image itself, which I'm just doing now, and that will then come down and give me some line that I can refer to, working its way up to here to the boat. So plotting, and that's what I'm doing. I'm plotting, looking at where things start and stop. Now here I've got this door set here, but really and truly it should be higher. It should be up here somewhere. So all these little things you've got to look at. I'm going to put the top of the wall of the next building with this beautiful arch window in the top of it. I'm going to put that somewhere there, suggest the water there, which then means I've got to start plotting my workboat. Now this is a working boat. This is one that will deliver produce and goods around the canal system. I don't know what their names are. Ben, if you're on the ball, you'll have already looked this one up, mate, and will be telling me what I am looking at. No offense, but I know you are on the ball with these things. But really and truly, the boat is key to this picture, but it's only a very, very small part of it. So I've got to look at that and try and put that in context with everything else. So I'm going to put my window there, and you can see I'm bouncing all over this picture just to try and plot where key things are going to be. There's a little arch, there's a little curvature in the top of that wall, and then we've got all this other material coming down and where they start and stop. Now there's the back of the boat, so this one really comes down to about here. That's the first significant wall change. Now I've got no room really to put all of this, so I've got to make a new decision. Do I put less of this lot in, or do I go back to the drawing board, so to speak, and make a much smaller composition of the boat, say to there, something of that nature, and then I can bring that down, which is into the center of the boat, like so, and I'm still pretty much really where I was. I haven't gained too much, but I'll live with that. for the moment I'll live with that. I'm just suggesting lines of lintels, archways of doors, like so, very thin. I don't want to get too involved in making them totally accurate. I want this to be fairly loose and easy to view, as it were. So I don't want to go into absolute detail. There are windows above and everything is sort of radiating out, so it's going high, it's coming low. And we've got the first of a few windows. So I'm only really going to be putting one of these little square windows in. This is partly due to the fact that the aspect ratio on the photograph I'm using is so much different to the actual paper I'm using. Good question, Suze. No, I don't. The thing? Oh, Keith. Good evening to you. Nice of you to join us, mate. So yeah, about the paper. It's a 300-pound weight, which is 640-pound GSM. In a sense, as long as it's taped down and anchored, it really doesn't need stretching. It's really good for that. You don't have to do that. But if you're using a much lighter weight paper, 90, 140, 200-pound possibly, you do or ought to stretch it. And certainly for the lower weights, the 90s and the 140s, they do really need stretching. But 200 is great, and that works very well. But 300 is very, very thick paper, so it doesn't need too much in that regard. Let's just draw this boat in a little bit more than we already have, and our two figures. Now our first figure is somewhere around here in this vessel, and it comes way low back and up to that point at the back, and then we've got the tiller or the rudder, whatever it's called, I'm not too sure actually, and the back. And you can't see too much of it, but it's a very, very wide and very, very shallow draft. So let's crank that down to about there and let that come round to the stern. Let's put our nice bright looking rudder in. Very, very thick piece of timber, got to be said, and it drifts out in shape like so. Alright, and let's make that draft. This I think could come a bit lower. So I'm going to take the eraser, and I'm already dripping wet. It's so hot in here. Right, I go above and beyond for you guys. Got to be said. Right. Okay. So let's take that down through to there, and let us. That's pretty much in shade, so I'm not going to be too worried about what goes on there. Not at this stage. Let's talk about that being a fairly even look to the waterline, and then we've got to suggest that this goes forward. Now we've got the front of the boat, bring that down like so, and this is really quite crucial. You get this part of the drawing wrong and you're going to be struggling with the whole painting, to be quite honest. So work on this, get this about right. All these things can fluctuate and change around a little bit. I'm not going to put the other boat in. I don't think there's really any need to. So I'm just looking at the relationship between this wall, this boat, and the building ahead. And by comparison, if you took these two figures, say one here, and I'm not quite sure whether what I'm looking at, I'm just going to pull the image up a bit. Bear with me, just see what I'm seeing. Okay, well I think there's an awful lot of packages as well as the rear motor. So the gentleman here, often you see between these two buildings there is either an arch or whatever, but there is a little jetty or a little place that they can moor up to, drop their cargo as it were, and then head on. Now there's quite a big box section behind this chap here, and some sort of a bracket through here which is masking the other chap's legs. That's what I couldn't work out. And I'll leave that in there like so. That gives us a little bit of information on the top of the boat. Now, is the top of this boat correct? It works in a straight line, so I think it needs to come around a bit more, giving that a bit more of a curvature at that point. Something like that I would be happy with, and then we can take the shape through like so. Alright, now that again here is just a little off. Now you must forgive me if I do not pay great attention to some of the chat that's going on. I will look at it from time to time, but a lot of concentration as far as I'm concerned at this point to get this looking about right. And if I don't get it looking about right, then it won't be good, not for me. Alright, so there we go. Now we've got a line that runs through maybe somewhere like that, which is some brickwork on the lower part of this wall that's exposed. You can actually see between the two boats there is a little bit of a jetty, so let's put that in. And I still don't really, I'm reluctant to put the other boat in, so I'm just going to put in the little stone steps that lead down to where this boat is moored up and unloading. And there is some actually, I don't know if you can see it in the photograph where you're looking, but there is actually, and sadly, some graffiti on the wall, Zephyr and some other hashtag that's been put on there, or some artist tag. Quite a shame really, on such a beautiful city. I know it's the world over you see it, but it really is just not nice. Alright, now this wall comes out a little bit and we've got quite a height to what I'm seeing. Now if I put this back to where it was and then back up again, I've just lost my picture, bear with me. Oh come on, this is terrible. Just one knock of the mouse and I completely lost it. I will get it back in a minute. It's just, there's only about 5,000 or 6,000 pictures to go through, so we'll get there eventually. I'm sure we will. But in the meantime, if you want to go and make a cup of coffee and cut some sandwiches or something while I search for this, then please be my guest. Oh, there we go. Okay. Right, now I just pulled it in a little bit so I can just see what's going on here with some of the structure. So we have got the bottom is about there, and then of course this is the reflection that's running down, and it does run a little backwards into there. Now delivery buys. Oh, I can't. Sorry, I missed that, Ben. Ken, good evening to you, mate, from Australia. I know it's very early over there for you. Thank you very much for taking the trouble to get up and see us. New Mills Model Railway. Good evening to you, New Mills. And I found during lockdown a group of women in Venice are using boats to deliver groceries, and they call people across the city. Okay, and delivery barges are the most common kind of utility vehicle you'll be seeing. Like firms like DHL, UPS. Okay, so yeah, that makes a whole heap of sense, Ben. Thank you very much for that. And I gotta see what I am looking at here, because this is just throwing me a little bit. You've got that lovely archway. You got a bit of the building that's coming down in the architecture at this point, so it goes up and down, and then we got a window and lintel there. So we've got this dark area there, and it starts to come down as you start to look at the difference between the angles of the windows, and then this one comes down through here and comes like that. I think that's about right. This is another window, so I thought it was a big door, but it's not. When I look closely, it is actually a big window, and like that. Now, I sort of don't really want to get too involved with lots of drawing in this respect, because there are a lot of pipes coming down here. They jut out, and there's some sort of ladder, I think, some sort of support ladder. Maybe if you needed to, you can get out of trouble. I have no idea. I'm guessing. There is a little window up here. Now, what I would suggest is, and something I actually haven't done, is that if you are doing a lot of work on a piece of paper like this, which has got quite a bit of involved drawing with it, and especially on a very, very hot day like today, I suggest that you do something like this, because I haven't, and hopefully it won't be a problem. But sometimes, of course, when you are very, very hot, then you could end up leaving little bits of oil from your skin upon the paper, and which will then restrict how the water will go down through the paper. A good trick with windows such as this is an arch window, and it has a little some sort of setting stone, I forget what they call them. They use them in walls as well, or in archways on walls, gates, etc., and on these windows. But take the center line and just take a line down through the center very gently, and you know that you've got to make this pretty much even on each side. This is a great little trick to remember if you're doing a still life with cups, vases, anything where it's either press molded or it's turned, it's going to be equal on each side. So if you took a center line down, then you can actually make each side the same, a bit like a butterfly's wing. And that way you should end up with something that looks a bit better than mine. There you go, not too bad. Alright, we'll move on from that, and let's just look at this wall. It's got quite a nice arch and drop into it where it's the old architecture, the old roof slates have moved. So let's put those in, and this wall has got some incredible old bits of stonework in it, and the old bricks, they're everywhere. I mean, you can't see that on the photograph that I've shown you, but I've brought it up very close to me, and there, heaven knows how many different loads of bricks are in there. They've moved, they've changed, they've put more in, they bolster it up, I don't know, but there's so many different colours. I'm not even going to try and do anything with those at all. It's just not worth it. There are some pipe works onto the face of this, like so. We're going to put those in. Just going to return the image back to normal size so that I can then carry on. And there is a fascia here. Now that's where I think I went a little wrong. So let's just take that part of the wall out. Let's make that shorter, out to about there, and let's bring this one in sooner. Let that come all the way down the face here, and there is a large window way up as it goes out of the image, and then there is a return, and that return is somewhere like so and like that. You don't need to draw it totally because you're going to do most of that in paint. And you've got a couple of windows with lintels here and here, and you can start suggesting those going off, and you start gaining scale to the whole thing. Now start looking at this again. The archway here is way too rounded for the subject, so let's just come down and try and create a nice straight line to the window, to the doorway, and an arch a little bit more there as it's coming, because the elliptic is throwing it, so that's fine. Take it down, and we've got the sort of base stones. I don't know what this would call, a bit like our foundation stones, I guess. Maybe granites of some sort that are more impervious to the rigors of the water for all the years. Something like that, and they go into that door sill like so, and then you have literally a set of water coming in there. So you've got water in and out, so that creates that look there. This one, let's look at this one. This one can come, there's a short window in there which we just want to put in like so, and then we look at this door, which is more or less an alleyway. Let's just check that. Check it for size. Now it does need to be shorter than this one. This one is really high. In fact, part of me feels that this should actually go higher than I've got it. Somewhere maybe even that high up the picture plane. I'm going to look at that for a minute and then make a decision. This one, however, is that much shorter. And so we're going to bring that down through and there, and it's a very, very dark piece of information that's coming down, and it comes pretty much all the way down to there. And look at that lovely, lovely reflection in the water that we've got to play with later on. And also some of these brick colours, I'm going to suggest them with mere colour, not trying to paint them in quite figuratively. But I do need to set this wall up. It's coming out from a slightly curved angle down to there, and then it will come under where that is. There is a blocking stone or something there, and that little bit of dark stuff. Can't work out what it is. I think actually I do know what that is. Well, it's either some sort of event system or what I can see of a bit of a window behind there. But then all these colour bits are all just leaving lovely bits of information in there in terms of reflections. Okay, so now where are we? No more on the chat. Okay, no problem. So I've just lost the picture again. I've got to stop touching this mouse. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There you are. There you are. I'm going to put the mouse carefully out the way. And let's start looking at the job of painting this. Now we've done the drawing and it's pretty much sorted out. Do I put that little boat in? Do I not? I don't think it actually brings anything to the party. I'm not going to. Can I suggest here the reflections of the big window at that point, how they space out, and then we've got all the lovely reflections and the darkness coming here. So this is our area of light here, and we're going to bring that down through this boat, and that boat therefore gains great contrast. Okay, have a quick glug before we get started. Oh. Alright, don't think I've missed anybody. If I have missed you, just type something further on down and hopefully I'll see that, but hopefully I haven't missed too many people. Okay, for this job I'm going to use a couple of brushes. First one I'm going to be picking up is this big Escoda. It's a lovely brush. It was given to me as a present from a friend. I normally use Rosemary & Co brushes, got to be said, but this is a Escoda. It's a really particularly nice brush, and I use it quite often. I've got to say, use it quite a lot. I'm going to be putting in a bit of the yellow, a little bit of Indian yellow, just to warm up this area around here. Now, apart from the top of the boat and some of the reflection there, and maybe a touch under there, it's pretty much all got colour in. So let's just come across. And I should have said that we mix up a lot more colour than I just did. And a lot of weak colour as well. So I'm going to come right the way through here, right the way across here, and it doesn't really make an odds because nothing of this is going to worry because it's all going to be darker. So unless you're going to paint something that is actually physically lighter at some point, it doesn't matter too much. The only time I'm wary about it is if my colours are going to go warms over lights or the other way around. In that case, I might well just protect some of what I'm doing before it gets completely annihilated in the colour that I really don't want there at all. Okay, let's just take this down. Nice big strokes. Feels like a pasting brush at the moment, with all this lovely yellow colour, bring it all the way down. And of course, as usual, I've got to wait for some of this to dry up, like so. Let's take that down. And if you are a little bit worried, then I would put your mute buttons on at this stage and just taking off some of that excess so that we then create this nice little bit of white mark that comes down so far into the shadowy area, into the water and reflections, and around the top of that wall, taking it off to that side like so. So that's just lifting pigment out that we don't really need at that point. Okay, hair dryer time. So cover your ears, but I'm going to start quite high so that I don't push too much of the wet paint where I don't want it to begin with. All right, Bramley, good evening to you, sir. Thanks for joining us. quite wet in places, got to say, but I'll leave that. We're not going to affect that right away. And the way this temperature is, that area that's still damp will dry off. I'm just going to start working some wet into damp, as it were, in some other colour pigments. So now I'm going to change from the big brush to a Rosemary's dagger brush, and I'm going to put some oranges down and some vermilion down. I'm just going to play around with some of these shapes on the bricks in this building. Now take it carefully. It may look fairly glibly put on and rushed on, but I am taking a little bit of care, if I can. Obviously I don't want anything to be so fast that it becomes a mistake, and there's that subtle difference between rushing and just being free with it, and I'm trying to be the latter. Just taking that down to there, and if you feel confident and you've got that nice orangey mark coming in into that part of the building there where those bricks are, taking it down to the water edge, there's nothing stopping you then just continue that on a little bit and create your lovely little bit of reflection. And same on some of this too. There's one or two others, and you can play around with it, leave little marks, take little bits in and out, just move it around, but already it's starting to paint itself. In a sense it is, but you get the idea. Okay, I'm going to come across here with some darker values. I've still got to put more into there. In fact, what I will do is I'm just going to come in with some sienna. Just going to take that over onto that side. Very, very faint. Even going to put in a little bit of cobalt blue just to cool it off on this part here. Just cool that off a little bit. I don't want to completely lose the lights on it because I like some of that the way it's working, so I'm going to leave some of it, just put a little bit more sienna in there, a little bit of raw sienna into that area there. And that gives me that nice dark edge to the building. Okay, and in a moment I can come in with a bit more yellowish colour around here. It's very careful with the way you do it. I'm going to put in a little bit of sienna into my yellows that I was using, and I'm just going to actually add to the weight of light or lack of light as it goes up and across to this building. So it doesn't matter about this, that's going to be darker anyway, so you can go right through that, and you can go right through the window quite happily. But I'm just going to almost dry brush some of it down as it's starting to descend down the wall. And I want to leave a little bit of light just around the edge of the window frame, and then take it all the way through the back here, like so. Not worried that that's bleeding up, it's not a problem at all. I'm just going to leave that for the moment, but what I am thinking of just popping in maybe a little bit more as that's going away from the light source, almost going up the street that way. Because obviously whatever's here extends beyond this and continues over. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure. I didn't go up there, you couldn't get to it unless you was on one of those vessels. Alright, where are we? More paper needed and another glug. It's getting really hot in here. I think I'd have earned my Guinness tonight, people. And this finishes. Now I like what's going on here, so I'm going to make more of it. I'm going to put some more translucent orange in. Hopefully you can see these mixes, and a little bit of that sienna and tap of blue. Just want to dirty it up a little bit. It's in the light, but it's coming away from the light. So don't know. Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of turquoise into that. There's a little bit too much turquoise. Let's come back. There you go, that's probably a little better. And let's just take that down there initially, just a little subtle in terms, like so. I'm going to make that ever so darker as we come into the next area through here. A bit more water, let that flow to its heart's content. I'm going to put some cooler blues in, a little bit of blue violet, a little bit of ultramarine violet. Let's bring some of that down into there. A little bit of red mixes. And let it stop short of those bricks like there. So I've got a lovely colour transition working going on there. And I'm going to bring that down through there onto the stonework. A bit more blue. Just bring that down. Like so, and let them bleed. I'm not too worried at all about the bleed between the two areas. It works in my favour, so that's good. I'm going to leave it to do that. I'm going to warm this up just a little bit through here. Don't worry about any of this you're going over, because of course much of it is going to be seriously darker. Just want to lift a little bit of this out. Just playing around with that. There's taking it out further actually. There is quite a large lump of plaster on the wall, so I'm going to try and leave that shape available. Just a little sharper on the edge than I had, taking that all the way down through the side there. We can put some body colour back into this later, it's no issue at all. So I'm going to take that all the way back, taking some of this off, and then come in with some warmer values down the edge of this wall. Right, so leave it like that, I think. And just let that dry up. Don't worry too much about what's happening. Just let that dry up and we will come back into the rest of it shortly. I'm going to put in a little bit of muted bluish red colour down in that part there, where under this there's a bit of brickwork that comes almost down to the water, like so, and up the side of this door into there. Works. Okay, just let that dry, let it do its own thing. You don't even need a hairdryer on that. You're not going to go back into it yet, so just let it sit there. Let it do what it wants to do. A bit more paper. This is drying up really nicely, and I'm going to go in with clean some of this pan out. Nice cobalt blue into there as a first wash into that window. I want it quite cool. So I'm just going to come in and very carefully put in a blue layer as such, checking on what's going on. Watch my drawing. You've got to be a bit careful with a dagger brush when you're doing this, because you could sort of move the brush too close to the paper and flick the end bristle. Very, very fine, and it doesn't take much to flip it or flick it and do something with the paint that you didn't ordinarily want to happen. So there you go. Alright, that will do, and we will let that set itself up. Now on this side there's a lot more shade, of course. Not as dark as the ridge over the top. I'm just going to lift, in fact I'm not going to do it with that, I'm going to lift it with the brush. If you get a puddle forming like this, you don't want it to drip, you don't want it to end up bleeding back either, because what will happen, especially in heat, if you've got an area of wet, it's got an area below it that's even wetter because there's a lot more water there. Then what will happen, this will dry slower, and therefore it will start pushing pigment back up and create that bloom that you don't want to see. So just, if it comes down, if you don't want that to continue as a bead further on, then just take a damp brush and lift the excess pigment and water away, and it should stop anything like that happening. Bramley, I'm unsure. I don't know if I've done this one, to be quite honest, but Venice is Venice. Who could argue over another Venetian painting, even if it is very similar to the last one? Alright mate, you may have got me there, I don't know, I'd have to look back and see what I did. I think Wendy may have an idea, and Ben may have an idea, I'm unsure. Right, let's look at this side here. So we've got a shady part of the wall, so I'm going to use some reds and orange primarily. I'm going to kill those reds off with the blue, and that's done that. No, oh dear. Okay, well, if I am repeating this again, I must apologise to each and every one of you. I'm going to take that over and give that the first indication of that archway. Okay, I'm going to be careful that I don't do anything I don't want this brush to do. I'm just going to take that across and just take it through, and then come down this wall. Nice and crisp on the edge, nice sharp edge. Bring it all the way down and into what will become the reflection. Take this wall down, 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 like so. Okay, and I'm going to put in a little bit of light. There's some light through there, which I'm going to actually try and save some of that on there. So I'm going to bring that down to that edge there. You saw that I draw off the paint and dried the area around, so I could almost put on another value of colour straight away without causing myself too many problems. I come all the way down through here now with that all the way down to the bottom. Oh, I did do, yeah, I just realised what one you're on about, guys. There was another Venice canal with a boat, a red boat on the side I did a number of weeks ago now. Yes, I remember, but not this one. This one actually, out of all the little side pictures that I took of different parts of the canal when I was there, this one I loved the best. It's just, I've been wanting to paint this for a long, long time. As I started it in oils and stopped. I don't really know why I did stop, but I did stop. And so yeah, we shall see. It was the 19th of June, watercolour in Venice. Yeah, well, that's long enough ago. It's about time we had another Venetian painting, people. You can't have enough Venice. I'm sorry. Let's get that out. Alright, I am sort of trying to let things set up a little bit. And there are little areas within here. I've left that light, and I'm going to come back in and suggest a little bit of light there. I'm going to suggest and pick up a little bit under these windows. If I can lift some, that will be great. Just take some away. In fact, what I've got is a perfect brush for that. This is quite a stiff little brush from Rosemary, but being stiff, it actually allows me to pick up the paint. It like eradicates some of the stuff. Doesn't do it perfectly, and don't rely on it to get you out of trouble too much, but it does lift a little bit of value one or two places and make it work for you, I hope. Okay, now then, new mills. I am a newcomer. Is that vodka pot? New mills. Do I look as though I've got a problem? I'd like to say it is, but I'm not a vodka drinker. No, this is water actually. And until I put a load of ice cubes in it, hoping it would last a little while, but unfortunately within 5 minutes they're gone, and that was it. Yeah, the newbie is excited to see how you create the ripples in the water. So am I. Got to be said. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's carry on. So I'm going to put in now. You see how the wet under there and the wet in there, how that's all drained as a semi flow. That's not a problem, but just be warned, if you want something to stay there, don't put wet underneath it, or else it will find a way of getting into there and it will flow away. Let's just come back in with that and just put in those slates very quickly, using the tip of this brush, which is great because this brush has got so many angles. You know, you've got the tip, look at the point on that tip. Then you've got this lovely shape here. Beautiful brush. So versatile, has to be said. Brigitte, good evening to you. So we have America, Australia, Poland, and France. We're doing quite well tonight. Right, I keep saying right as I'm going to do something masterful. I've got to get, look at that, I've got a double arch on my door. I forgot to take that out. Silly me. Never mind. Okay, we will carry on. That's all drying up now. Let's start looking at the boat. Now the boat has got predominantly white, so I need to come in here with, to keep that nice and white and showing up without tons of body colour, I need to make the wall behind it somewhat darker in value, but not so dark. See, that's just way too dark. And I'm going to come in with a slightly smaller brush for the job, just to make sure that I don't mess it up completely and regret it. And I am using quite a small brush, got to be said, for this. I just want a much paler. Now that colour was the right value, but just too dark. So now I'm actually using the same value, but I'm coming in with more water. That was left on there a little too long and left a little mark on the paper. Not the end of the world. Got to be said, it's just what it is. Just a little bit of dark around here. Now by isolating the boat in this fashion, then of course we are going to leave that white showing more predominantly than we would have done. So let's take this across. Let's isolate our little chap on the edge of the boat, taking all these little bits of colour with it. And the other chap's dressed in black actually, but we will go straight through him. Doesn't matter. We'll put the rest of them in later. It does get quite lost in light. So I'm going to drag some of that colour back out at this point. Just literally dampen the brush, lift some of that colour, and allow some of that light from here to flood down into this area. And then that will dry up quite nicely and look how I want it to look. Okay, now I'm going to come in with the first load of blue. Take the pan out. Come in with some ultramarine blue and a little bit of cobalt. That cobalt is completely messed up with another colour. Heck knows what I put in there. Okay, try that mix again. That's better. And a little bit of ultramarine blue, which is the predominant colour, I think. And let's just come in with the first value on this boat. Now you can see I've got my hands on a smaller brush, really naughty, and I'm sort of sticking with it for a minute. But let's just get the first layer in on the boat anyway. And we've got that lovely bit of white around the top of the boat, and then we've got that, which I think is actually quite light, and it's got quite a little bit of cobalt blue in it, which I'm going to put in now, and maybe even a touch of phthalocyanin blue, just to give that side a bit of light through there. Lift off a little bit of pigment so you get more of a stain than anything else, and it excites the light. And I'm going to put a bit more phthalo blue into that. Right, so I'm not going to touch that bit yet, because that, if I wet that now, it's going to bleed into this part, and I don't want to do that. So that will wait a little longer before we go into it. I can put, however, the little bit of dark that's around the top of the boat here, just as an initial colour, and then up over the back to there. And we can put in a dark. Now my favourite dark is always going to be indigo, and a little bit of the transparent orange gives me a warm dark, and actually I can make it a very cool or a warm dark, it matters not. Okay, I'm just going to come through here with the top of the bow and the cuddy and whatever that dark area is inside the boat, like so. Again, that's probably a little too deep, if I'm honest with you. I would have probably been a little better to take some of that back, shorten that look through there. Not a problem, we can always use something else just to clean that up later. Once that's dry, we can go back in with some dark. It's not a big deal. Okay, so where are we? Just looking through. Sylvia, yes, the last one was similar, but single boat nearer the picture and a little bridge. I think it was on your birthday, Paul. Yes, it was 19th. I remember that now. Well done, Sylvia. It was my birthday, and I spent it in your company, which was good fun. I remember that now. Thanks for that. Okay, so I've made a few splats. You can see them. They will probably wind into part of the painting later. I'm going to use a bit of this dark now and quite a bit of the orange just to really warm that through as a really dirty brown. There is some sort of speed sign up on this piece of archway. I'm not going to try and put that in. It doesn't bring anything at all to the picture, so we will leave it out and we'll just go in with a dark corner to this picture, which I don't mind at all. It just is like a stop, really. Let that dry. If we want it darker, we can do that, but it holds everything in, and it sort of has a sort of complement to this window, which we're going to start looking at now. And this window is going to have more blue in it, so I'm going to come back with some indigo into I took a bit of that brown, put it over here, come in with a little bit more indigo. Just test that's dry enough to lean on, I think it is, and let's just come in with this window. Now I want to make it, I'm not going to try and put the lattice in, I'm just going to simply put a broken brush in like so, and hopefully your eyes will do the lattice for me. And just let that come down and be free and simple, or simply stated anyway. Just put the base in, give that a little bit of harder edge, maybe just take an edge down through here so we form the framework to the window. Take a little bit back off there, like so. Hopefully that, you know, by playing around like this you get to see that maybe there is a lattice of some sort in there. And let's just come over and put a bit of dark up into the top of it. Let that drift and drop down the side, creating the frame on this side. Just knocked it a little bit out there. See if we can repair that a little bit, not too bad. Just watch when you're using that light, so just come down. There we go. Leave it like that, and I think we've sort of knock that in and that will be fine. There's a bit of rust or a bit of staining down the wall just under the sill. I'm going to put that in just dirty. Let some of this paint from the window drop into it like so. Soften the edge so it's not a hard edge. Quite dry brush, as you can see, and just allow little bits to come in, then drag that down through like that. Easily just to drag it off with some damp brush now. Like that. I've got to say, things like this, when you're sort of dragging stuff off and making dirty marks, it reminds me a lot of when I'm doing sort of modelling railways. For those of you who are modellers watching this, as I do it, you will understand exactly what I'm on about, and you will do it yourself when it comes to weathering and doing bits and pieces to buildings, and that's what I'm merely interpreting now. There we go, bit of framework, all done, all sorted. And another glug coming on. How are we doing for time, guys? Where are we? Nearly coming up for the hour. That's not bad. We're about halfway through. I don't know if we're halfway through the picture, but hopefully it'll come together fairly fast. I'm going to put in quite an area of red and orange onto the brush. Big thick amounts of paint. I can water some of it down, dry off some of the excess that I don't want. Just play around with some of these shapes. I've taken too much off. Some of these shapes of bricks in here if I want to, and become a little bit more suggestive with the marks, especially the one that's maybe down the edge of the wall here. Put that in and sort of like so, and it becomes broken brickwork, doesn't it? It's really broken bricks, and taking that down to the edge of the boat there, a bit more broken brick, and and down here where it follows the edge of some old rendering that's still on the wall at this point, so we can put that in. And this comes quite a solid colour down through here to the water. I'm going to put that in like that. I think we're pretty much good with that. And if I want to drag it off, but I'm going to use that little smudge of colour that dried up before just to take off and let that blend into the surrounding, just like that. Maybe a little bit on there too, so it's not quite as stark all over. And I think that really works quite nicely. A little bit of coolness down up into this edge here, a little bit darker and a little bit over the back there. Okay, and we can carry on like that through the whole of the rest of this picture. I'm going to come back with a slightly bigger round brush. This is a nice sable, and I'm going to use some of this gungy stuff that I've been looking at, a bit more indigo to that, and maybe a touch of the violet from the ultramarine violet. Let's just bring that down the shadow side of this wall. Careful as we go, and I can make it a bit thicker, but I like the broken edges, and this is why I'm using a rough paper. For those who, if I didn't say that before, we're using a rough paper. I know I said it was a 300 pound weight, and it is. A nice dark stain through there. I'll put that in, leave it there. Just mix it up a little bit as it comes up the wall a little bit. There you go. And yeah, it just works very, very nicely because you can skip over some of these shapes. I'm going to come in with a bit more blue and a little bit more violet into there, a little bit more orange into it as well. Just going to come straight down through here. I wanted it a little bit warmer than that. Tap in a little bit of raw sienna. That's probably way too much raw sienna. Just see how that looks. Now again, I'm putting a lot of water into this, so I'm going to have to be careful and to allow it to dry. But this time you can see I am working around the structures and the windows, although I did miss the sill of this one up here, so I suppose I ought to just take that back a little bit and that one there, because I did put the windows in. Should bring that down and just protect that window and protect that one, give them their sills, and then we can carry on. Bring that down into the side, straight down through there. We can sharpen up this gap here that we've just created, this little area here. We've just created a softness by going into that blue-grey. We can sharpen that up, or we don't have to, but there's actually a little bit more of a shadow which will work in our favour later on. Bring that all the way down through here to that point, and then over down that little side of the door there. I'm still protecting these, but I think now is the time that I can come in with a little bit of a cooler bluish colour, a little bit of cobalt in there, and take that down through this greying. It's not white, is it? It's sort of a grey colour, cooler colour. So I'm going to use that now. Again, I wish I had actually just left that, so I'm going to bring that down past and leave a little bit of sill just to show. Lifting it off with a tissue paper is a great idea and very effective. Right, okay, so let's carry on. Now then, we have got pretty much the upper part is done. It's not yet, but we've got a few final bits and pieces to put in, but pretty much there. So I'm going to start looking at the water soon. Anyway, I'm going to come in with a little bit of colour on that bit of brick and this bit of exposed brick here. It comes down to there. What I have got to do is I've got that and I've got to protect that. This has got a little line in on the dark, but it also goes so dark that it comes straight through this area, so that's not a problem either. This area is reflective down through here, so I'm just going to suggest that there. To start with, it comes down so far, and then it just disappears. So let's get the dark in now then. Let's work on ultramarine blue, indigo again. And to that I'm adding, this time I'm going to add in some red, I think, as opposed to the orange. And is that dry enough? Possibly not. I'm just going to see and dip my toe in. I could regret this, but I'm just going to leave a little edge to the see how easy it is to flick away paint by being a little careless. Okay, not a big problem, but just be a little more careful. Certainly more careful than I am. Bring that down. And I'm going to stop there because it's just going to bleed everywhere. You can see how I run the risk and I pay the penalty. Just going to dry that off down that edge so that that really can't run any further than that. Good way of stopping. But when you're rushing on a painting like this, it doesn't pay to overwork too fast. It pays just to sit back, look at it, check it before you move on, because you will come unstuck as I just did. Just take that to there. Now, so you can see how I am just playing around with some of this for the moment, just to suggest what's going on into this. But I'm going to put a lot more into this. This is going to bleed everywhere in a moment, because what I'm going to do now is put a bit more green in, a little bit of cobalt into this. Cobalt turquoise goes in because that's beautiful. It's the underlying colour in a lot of this waters in Venice. I love it. And I'm going to bring that, it certainly comes into play down through here too. Beautiful turquoise colours. Now you can see I'm sort of leaving bits out, putting bits in, tapping around with colour, and I'm going to enhance that further on. But predominantly this green extends all the way through here, like so. And we can actually add to those greens further on. So let's just get some of them in. Let's leave one or two bits of the white paper coming through, or the yellow paper coming through. Let's come in with a little strength of the blue in here, like a wash coming up in here. Let's just put some of that in very, very quickly, like so. Nice and fluid, nice lovely movements of the water. Let that dry up. Yes, Luke, why are you so late? I would like to know the answer to that too, and your grandmother certainly would. I'm right behind you with that, Sue. Right behind you. He needs to tell us where he's been, what he's been doing. Okay, let's come out of here. Let's come in with some more yellows, and then take it away from the yellow a little bit with the raw sienna, and just going to put in one or two, and a little bit of green into that too. Not much, just take it off the purity of the yellow. Just going to play around with some sort of scratchy marks, little sideways movements of the water, like so, into that part of the building, and that sort of comes down and melds out with some of this down in through here. Let the two to come. Now what you're hearing here, that's my little fingernail that's giving me a sort of gauge, in a sense, a gauge and a brace across the surface of the board here, so that I get a light touch where I want it on this painting. Just going to bring one or two lovely little subtle colours coming through here. A bit more of those colours, a bit more of the green in there. And just play around with some of this. let some of that pull into that green too, like that. You get a very, very fluid effect in your water. And although water is a surface after all, it is just a moving surface, but it's nonetheless a surface, and we have to respect that, and we have to plan for that and all the little aspects. So we need to make it fluid, we need to make it look right, of course we do. And I'm almost ready to go back into there as well. Just, I keep wanting to put some dark in there, but of course that's where that boat is that we haven't put in. So I'm not going to go back on that. I'm going to leave that as it stays. Just going to look at maybe put a couple suggested through there of the steps. Take that one down, and a little bit of green wouldn't hurt because that's a little bit of light through there. Take it off and soften the effect. Okay, not too much. Now I've got to get back into this boat, haven't I? So I really want to let this dry up a little bit now, and we will come back into our boat, and then we'll just come back in and start honing in on the detail. While I'm waiting a little bit for the boat, I'm just going to come back in with some red, some blue, just take off some of that up into there. I've lost a little bit of the shadow in there. I did that deliberately. I wanted to take that down and then take this into here, and I will come over with the window colour again afterwards. Let's give me the shadow, and it's given me what I wanted at that point. There is one above which I'm not going to put in because I didn't see it. That's my excuse. Let's start looking at this boat. Let's make this boat stronger. Let's give this boat some body and some character that it needs. Okay, coming in with some ultramarine violet, that lovely beautiful violet colour. To that I'm going to add a lot of ultramarine cobalt blue. I'm just going to come in and reaffirm the shape here of this vessel. Got to be said that I'm working on a very funny angle. It's not the angle that I would love, it's the angle that the camera likes to record at so that you can see what I'm doing, but it really is a very odd angle to paint on. So I've got a little stick here which I hope will help me brace across this and create a steady hand, but of course it means to say that you, the viewer, are not going to see all the action, as it were. So bear with me on that one, but I do need to steady what I'm doing. Okay, now there was a lightish colour under there which is not represented, but it hopefully will be now. And it's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to bring that up there and try and drag a little bit of material off here. Point up the brush, just take some of that back. Little gentle strokes, not too fast, just take a little bit back. Create that little light along the top of the waterline, and there is actually a little bit of light on the corner where the boat goes round. And put that in as well. And I'm going to come in with some dark on this part here of the rudder, and it's brown underneath, so let's not forget that. So let's put a little brown part there, and we're going to wait for this part which I've only just painted to darken off. I come in with quite a bit of yeah, you can see the way that that is moving around in that space, how dark that is and how wet the paint is at that point. Like so. I'll leave it like that. I think that works. Just want to tap in a little bit of dark indigo into this part here, just to get that to marry up a little bit more with the other side. I think that works. Okay, I like the boat, and I'm going to come down to a smaller brush very quickly and just use that same dark on our chappie standing on the side here. And he's sort of, he's scratching his back by the look of it, but I can't really tell. I'm going to put his arm down like so, and he's just standing, directing people to do what he needs them to do, I suppose. Going down like so. Alright, and give him a little dark hair on the top here, and there's our man. Alright, that's cool. And let's give our other man a little bit darker hair, but he is quite, in all honesty, he's in a white overall type thing or t-shirt, but I will make him, I'm going to leave him one. I'm going to give him that lovely bit of cobalt teal. I love this colour. I'm just going to give him a bit of cobalt teal on his body like so, into the edge of the bird like that. Alright, and I'm going to use the dark indigo again, a bit of red into it this time, and I'm just going to come underneath here and shape up this part underneath the boat, which I lost last time. Make it a lot shallower. I think that works. Alright, and another glug. We seem to be well attended tonight. There's 34 to 36 people watching. 35 at the moment, I think. Which is all very, very exciting. That's really good. Thanking each and every one of you for taking the trouble to join me tonight and support the stream. That's really nice. Thank you. Right, let's just push on. I haven't seen some of our regulars. I haven't seen Leori here tonight. She's not here. And a couple of other names that I see are not here tonight. Just tapping in one or two little bits of information. And it's really just I's and T's. It's not, so I'm keeping away from that area, I've got to say. I will end up with a whole big problem. I'm going to come down in the water now, and I'm going to suggest that lovely light blue effect, bit of that, bit of that, bit of water too, and let's just put that lovely blue of the rudder in. Don't worry that it's gone bigger, I'm not worried about that at all. Just what I want is the absolute beautiful blue that that has. Like that. And then just let that play around and disappear. We're going to come back in a moment with the rest of it, but for the moment that's fine. Just getting the paint ready to come in with this dark as well, like there. But don't forget that comes down, but then there's a little way out in that way, just like that. There's a nice bit of reflection. There are other things that are being reflected, but I don't think it's part of the boat. I think there's a, I think I mentioned there's a pipe up there, very long pipe up the wall, and I don't know whether to put it in or not. I'm just going to suggest something's there and let that come down through there like so, and leave it like that. I think I'm going to throw caution to the wind in a minute and just come in with some of this lovely blue reflection. Tap that in there, tap that around here, the edge of the boat, and then on the bow it will come up to the bow, but it will come out at that point. Allow that to come down. Like so. A few broken edges will work very, very well with the reflection. I'm going to put some of that in. Like that. Then there are other shapes that are happening. There are other reflections which I'm going to try and mix some of them into this boat reflection, but not all of them. So I just don't want them all there. There are confusing ones up here because of the steps, and I'm going to have to look at that in a moment and just see where I want that to go. But up here I'm just putting one or two suggestive ones that are going across into the boat and beyond, and they're just subtle bits of the window that are starting to form and little shapes that are coming down like so. Down here against the rudder there is possibly the edge of that wall. I'm not too sure what I'm looking at with that, but I think that you get little shapes coming through like so. Little lines, little marks, indicators. Okay. Jim's not here tonight, is he? Jim is not here either. Just noticed 1 or 2 names are missing and absent. As long as they fill in an absentee report next time we meet. I'll leave that at that point there, and I need to come back into this side wall. So I'm going to come in with some darks. I just want to come in with what will be the window up here. Let's just put that in. 1 and 2, like so, very quickly in. But I think they're a little bit too on the cool side. I'm going to drop in a little bit of orange into that, straighten up a little bit, some orange into that one, give that a bit more form, like so, and then into this one here. But what I want to do is add some orange right near to the front, so that it's almost like you can see into the darkness. And on this one, take that down to there, and a bit more indigo down into this one. More than that, let's come back in and put some fresh mix of indigo in. Drop that into place. Now we're not pre-mixing, we're just literally dropping in place. Take that down to that point. Very strong dark, but that's what's there, very strong dark. Like so. Then there are other things going on. There are much more darkness in the wall. So let's try and see if we can't come in with a slightly bigger brush, bigger round. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm so glad I got another one to hand. I started throwing them about. A little bit of orange, a little bit of red, just to darken it down, and maybe some of that blue in there, just to see where we need to take this. So let's just take that down. I could have probably done with doing this, if honest, before I put the windows in, but we'll see how messed up we actually get before we start worrying too much. Take that all the way down through there as the reflection, like so. We can put in some other darks into that in a moment, but not right now. And a bit darker under there. Right. Just playing around with this colour just to deepen up this wall, because it is a little lighter than I would like. So I'm just going to make sure that I come across it. It may be that we will just reinstate the darks of the windows later on as we feel the need, but just trying to darken up this wall a shade or two more than I have. Okay, that's not a problem. Now I'm going to come in with some lovely teal over that lovely orangey colours in here. Just going to let the way that just pours into place. Wonderful. I just love the yin yang of the warms and the cools in this, and it works so well. Like so. Using the tip of the brush carefully, and that will dry up, and you get that lovely pushing and pulling of colour between the greens and the reds, and because they are completely complementary, they will complement each other, and where they mix they will kill each other. It's interesting the way that the colour does work in that fashion. Nancy, sorry. Thank you very much for joining us. I didn't see you come in there, but thank you very much for joining the evening. and for putting your name down in the chat. That's very kind, thank you. Right, now this is pretty much dried up in here, so now I've got to really start looking at finishing off. Otherwise you guys are still going to be here come early morning, and I'm sure you don't want to be, but I'm still trying to hold all this light in place here. Really important. That's why I darkened this part up, and that's why I've worked on this part here. And now I've got to come in with some more darks on this side to help me in that process. I'm going to put some green and red together. Now this is where the complementaries work against each other and kill each other off. And you can see how we work the two, and we can get the greens and we can get the different dirty colours working. But I'm going to try and leave a little bit of light that is suggested by the stonework coming down on the side of there, and leave that coming all the way down through to there, to that part of the wall. And I've gone right through that. I realise I've gone right through that part. Not a problem. We'll live with that and we'll make do with that. So I'm going to take this all the way up through here against the side, and there's the first window. Take that up as high as you want it to go, and over really as far as you want to see it go. I'm just going to literally let that peter out to nothing and allow the light to start coming in with a slight wash against this area, like so, and you can see how that's going to happen. Could have done with leaving a little bit more light up the top there. Not the end of the world, just would have been nice. I'm going to bring that down the side here. Nice, simple, easy single stroke of the brush. Take that all the way up to there, like so. And while I'm at it, I may as well just try and just describe our window in here. Leave that alone. And this area here does actually start to flare out, so I'm going to drop in a little warmth to that, not too much, just changing it to a little bit of a warmer colour, and that starts to bleed out a little bit like that as it comes down that doorway. And then it's got this lovely dark area, dirty area, that's sort of messed up with the green and the gunge of the river, or the water, not the river, sorry, Venice for that. There you go. Now I've got a line that's out. I've got to create this area here, and then these are the edges of the stones, the base stones as it were, in the water, which I have omitted to leave. So I'm going to have to make them predominantly green, maybe even get a little bit of warmth into them, and leave them like that to set up. Would have been nice had I left it all together, but I went through it with the green water. I was a little bit too quick with my brush as it were, but it's not the end of the world. Keep saying that, but it isn't. So I've got to keep at it and keep working it. With the dark into there. Make that area a little bit dirty, a little bit more moody. Laying over layers, and those are already dry underneath, and you see some of them, because some of these colours are transparent, so some of the colours underneath radiate through the transparency, which is really quite exciting. I'm going to come up into here. I'm going to use a single stroke down through there, just to start to enhance that area once again. Let that dry, because there's more to do to that area. There's a little bit of that block there which I need to put in, and just continue down into that area. Alright, how are we doing? Hour and 25 minutes. Katrina, Katrina, sorry, thank you for coming. We are doing very well for people. We've lost some, we've gained some. It's really good. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh. Alright, we press on. And I want to try and get some blues down there, some blue violet actually. Clean this well out. Let's come back in with some of that lovely cobalt blue violet, maybe a little bit ultramarine violet, not cobalt blue. Just want to come in, and I want to come in and keep that. I'm going to try and save that light area at the top, which is the structure of the door frame in stone. I'm going to bring that all the way down through here. That blue is a beautiful complement to all the other colours around, in the warm colours around. There we go. Bring it all the way down to the base, to that point there. And let that dry, let that settle down. Alright, where are we now? Let's just check one or two little bits on the boat we can just tap in some information on. A little bit of dark, one or two places. There's a little bit of something on the back end of the stern. Like so. I'm guessing there is one just the other side. Put that in. Bit of shape under there, gives that some form. There's not too much more. I could do with a little bit more shade on this chap here, give him a little bit more shape, and under there, I don't know what it's doing, we can put that in, and we can do a little bit more on this one as well, just a little bit more information there. Okay. Figures are figures are figure. I hope. I hope they don't mind too much that I'm making them look the way they are. A little bit deeper blue in there, just to bring that up. Tad and down through there. Make that look nice. And some strong marks. I'm going to start putting things like the window in a moment. So in that I'm going to use a lot of indigo. But I'm going to put a lot of cobalt green into that, the cobalt turquoise, and maybe a tap of red just to quell it down a little bit. A bit more of the green, a little bit more, that's fine. And for that, it's just, you're not going to get it exact. Don't even try getting it exact. Just try and put in a few marks that are suggestive of the reflection of that lovely window. Maybe make it a little darker while you're at it. Bit too much red into there. Put more of the green into there. Just come back in and just drop it into the wet paint, and it will just flow where it wants to flow. Like so. Maybe a little bit more on that one. Make it a little deeper. Don't forget, when you put wet paint on, it's going to look very, very dark, and the moment it dries up, then of course the properties change and it just goes a little lighter. There you go. I'll leave it like that. I think that's fine. Maybe there's a little tap down here, like so. And that works. The 3 J's are missing: John, James and Jim. Yes, actually, very true. I knew that we had some missing people tonight, Wendy. Thank you very much. There will be roll call next time, of course. And I'm going through this roll of paper like it's just going out of fashion. Okay, so we're going to come in with some other values now. I'm going to take that out. Come in with some of that green. It's got a bit corrupted in places because I put a lot of cobalt into it, so let's just clean it up. Clean it around, get rid of that dirt out of it, give it a fresh lease of life. There we go. And they're going to come in and we're going to use some of these earlier marks that I put in, and we're going to make more of them. So we're going to start doing this. I'm going to put some red in over here, and I'm going to change the brush back to the dagger brush. Nice, lots of red, and I'm going to put in some more green into that red, so it's completely corrupted as a red, but it gets a very dirty red under here. So there's lots of areas like this where you've got a little bit of light reflecting into the water here off those stones, but then of course it just goes and does what it wants to do in terms of lovely reflections. So we've got to just to take a bit of that off, actually, there, That's going to come down, and that's too strong. Let's come back in with some green, a bit more water. Take that back. Okay, let's just come down here and let that flow. I want a sense of that door frame coming down, like so. And then we've got a much more bluer value coming in, dirty in here, which is the door itself being reflected, and that just gets corrupted as it comes down further and disappears. And of course we've got our big dark one, which we've got to look at. A bit of red into that dark. I want to come in and I want to put more dark into this now. I just want to give this much more presence, because it really is a dark alleyway. There's a little bit of light to the lead edge, but I'm going to come up there, around there, and just leave that off. Let that come down and just bleed that out to nothing, like so. And then I'm going to take the same value, come all the way down with it now, and into this reflection, like so. And it will get corrupted as it comes down. So I'm just I'm tapping the back end of the brush on the paper, and I'm giving it all this little bit of starts and stops, little broken edges as it comes down. I think that works quite nicely like that. And again, it sort of peters out, but still doesn't want to give up. There's that window in there. Let's give that window a little bit more depth here. And then again, there is somewhere down here a very subtle, very slender little reflection in the water down like that. And some of these greens, they go greener. Put that in. Look at this lovely green, beautiful green. I just love it, but it just works for these Venice waters. And although it gets greener as it comes down, you can see it in the photo, and that reflection in this one just gets a little greener as it comes down and gives way to the greenness in the water itself, like that. And you just see all these lovely patterns and shapes forming up. Maybe a little bit darker in one or two areas here, which I've just missed. Take that into there, and take one or two across. Okay, looking at this one, and again it sort of gives way to some other values and colours. Picking across, going across there, so you get lots of small ripples and undulations. You've got this line here which will correspond in some sort of line that's coming down into this water, like so. So they have a corresponding coloration and effect on the reflection, like that. And again, this one here, there's a line where it is going touching the water. And again, it sort of comes down, and it will have an effect on what we see as a reflection. And hopefully that's making a lot of sense, he says. Now we'll come in with some other values. I think that could even be a little darker, and one more step darker down there. Put it in and wash it out. Put it in and just wash out the effect. Let that dry out, and then you can go with that little line that will define the recess in the brickwork to the lintel, which is interesting. I do love the architecture. I'm not an architect or anything close to it. Leora, thank you very much. That's so kind of you. Thank you for that. All goes to help the cause. I do appreciate your donation. Thank you. Right, I didn't know you was here. You kept very, very quiet. Got to be said. I did mention your name earlier, but I hadn't seen you. Right, I'm just adding some little bits of information here now, and just trying to start to bring this to a conclusion. Some darks in here which I would like to put in. I'm going to 30 that up in there and just bring some of those reds back out into play in this area. There's a little influence of orange which I've missed. Just want to put that in if I can. Actually, it's not so much orange, more a bit of orange and raw sienna. So I'm just going to try and influence that. It's not as bright as that, so I need to dirty it up with maybe a bit of the green, wouldn't go amiss. Just dirty that orange down. There you go, that's probably better. Just one or two places and let that sort of just play around. Sorry about all the banging with this piece of wood, but I do need it so often. Just going to bring that through in one or two places, like so. And right, let's just have a look. Don't worry about the pronunciation, you can call me Kate. Most people shorten my name. I'm sorry I miss so much. Love what you did with the stone, little adjusting and it's all okay. Yeah, Kate, that's fantastic, and I call you Kate, that's great. Cheers on you. Suze, so anxious working with dark colours, even though I know they're invaluable for shading effect, they intimidate me, but you make using them look effortless. It's just having the confidence, Sue. It's easy gets away with you, and so you know you can overdo the darks. This is the thing. If you get too much with all the darks, then it becomes less of a watercolor and more like an oil, which is really not what you're trying to do. So you do have to be a little bit careful. Right down in here, I'm sort of playing around with this color and almost telling myself off to just stop what I'm doing, because I could mess this area up completely and I don't want to do that. So I'm just backtracking a little bit with one or two of these green colours, because there's lots of swirl. I'm just moving out the picture a little bit so that I can try and get some of these in. I want to put that line down there, but I know it doesn't actually exist because we moved the boat. So I can put one or two colours in here, and a few orangey red ones as they come and travel down through here. Now I'm using the tip of this dagger brush to as much effect as I can, and I need to come in here with much darker values of this wall that are present, coming down, and they fan out and they become corrupted and do their thing into the next colour and the next part of the wall. There's a little bit of mark there, we're going to bring that in like so. Little things, they just, you know how you're doing a riverbank, you know if you're doing a riverbank and you've got like a dark bit and you've got a bush, and you reflect those into the water too, so you get that effect of the water. And that, I just put a tap there or something, I immediately put a tap there which was a corresponding reflection to it. Maybe just bring it up a little closer so that it looks as though it is a reflection of that. And here we've got this dark bit that I put in. I'm going to darken this off a little bit more, but with a bit of green. You'll see the state of my t-shirt. A little bit of green, and just vary some of these marks as they come across and join up like so. Don't overdo it, because you can soon lose the punch of this. You can soon lose the impact of the freshness of something like this. So just take it very, very easy. Less is often more, and that you do need to bear in mind. Now there is that area there which is clearly reflected in here, and I just need to put that in like so, and let that come all the way down through here. Oh, wrong colour, went into the wrong pot. Better. There is a reddish green colour. Using a lot of this combination right now for this, but it does work. But there are some sort of colours a little bit too heavy taken a lot of water into that and move that. Just wetted up the area, but I just wanted to make some of that move a little bit softer, like so. Okay, one or two in here. Just vary up the mix a little bit more. Alexander, that's fine. Show your work, that's fine. I'd love to see it. Email it me if you would like to. If you've been following along with this, I didn't realise. That's fantastic. Well done. Yeah, I'd love to see it. So don't be shy. Let's have a look. That's if you want to. There's no obligation to do so. I know most people are just watching what I do, and there are many non-painters watching this, so not everybody watches this are artists or painters or students or whatever. They just enjoy watching me paint, I suppose. I hope. He says. Right, okay, I'm just really I's and T's. I'm just looking at this water, seeing where I want to take one or two areas a little further, and that, if I can, that is, not always possible without ruining something. You've got to be a bit careful of the steps you take. You want a little outline to one or two of these. They sort of have this funny little edge to some of these marks. Create more of a sense of the reflection coming in. And just allowing the dancing of the brush. I love it. A lot of fun. There are some dark lines down here. Let's just try and put that in a little bit more than I've got it. Right. Now, where do we need to go? We aren't far off. I've got to say, we're not far off. What I will do, I'm going to definitely get a smaller brush out. Bear with me, and just want to play around with a few. Put that out of the way for a moment. I'm going to put a bit of gouache in, a little bit of body colour. Now, I've got to say, Wendy has found a Dr. Martens, is it, Wendy? I think Dr. Martens, which is it's a very different material to that of gouache. I am in the process of getting some, has to be said, but I haven't got any yet, so I will get hold of some. But in the meantime, I use gouache, and I'm just going to mix some of that into one of the two of these lighter colours. So I don't want the pure gouache white, I just want to suggest a little bit of shape and form on one or two areas here. Now, the Victorians were very, very handy at using body colour in a lot of their paintings. I just wanted to tidy that little bit up there, and a little lead edge that got lost down here. Now, these will not dry as bright as they appear right now, which is partly why the colour that Wendy has got her hands on is quite good, because it will allow you to paint a brighter mark if that's what you seek. So I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to put in one or two lights down through on the lintels of these windows. Get them right would be good. And down on there, I actually haven't painted one or two of these windows in, so I must do that. And there's that lovely night streak that we missed down through there. And a couple on these windows here. Now, these have become corrupted quite severely, so I'm going to put in
They don't want to be that bright either. They want to be very, very subtle, not as bright as that. So let's just take that out. Lose that. Come back in with another value. For the moment, and we can tidy those up in a short while. I'm not going to touch that around there, that's just how I wanted it, and a little bit of light across there, which I'll clean the brush off for. Just come in and put that nice little bit of white colour across the top there. Just touch it into one or two areas here. Down on the side there, just to tidy up one of those shapes. That's it. Some corrupted whites or lights up in here. A little bit more than that maybe. Become more dirty greys than whites and lights, to be honest with you. There is something around there, but I can't quite see what I've got. So I'm going to leave it at that, I think, and not put any more whites in. I'm going to clean that bit of opaque colour out of that pan so I don't get confused. Take that blue out there, which was an absolute mistake. And let's come back in with some more paper. And how are we doing? Okay. Yes, Dr. Martin's bleed proof white. That's great stuff. Haha, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's fantastic. And Kate, body colour. Body colour is it's a thicker watercolour. It's a white is normally known as body colour, and white is not normally used as a watercolour itself. Although, as I did say just now, the Victorians made it their speciality. They used body colour a lot in their work, and not just with as highlights as you see it used modern times, but certainly it's done that way when it comes to they use it as an opaque mix, and the moment you add a white to watercolor, you make it opaque by default, and there's nothing you can change about that. A lot of people use it as a highlight mechanism, so where you absolutely lost your whites, or you just want to tap in, for instance, I might do this. I might quite happily, I like this guy's shirt, but he wants a little bit of light down it, so I can just give him a little light across the shoulders. Maybe this one here, maybe a little bit of light down there, catching on that arm and on his leg, all sorts of things. You can do all this sort of thing and create highlights. That's use of body colour. And I sometimes use it to make an opaque light colour. These are nowhere near as bright as these, and they will show up lighter when I put a dark against them. So let's come in and let us put in our final sort of darks in the windows. Let's come back in and just check this out now. Let's just come in and put our window correctly. It did get lost, as I said before, because of course I made the walls darker, which completely went straight into them, and I lost them. So then I'm just going to come back down in here and should be using a bigger brush for this job, if I'm honest with you. Let's just take that down and re-establish some of these shapes like so, and our pipes that come down and into the water here somewhere. Quickly established and handled in, and they will come down like so. And they will go greener, like I did with others. Okay. Now let's look at the final darks. Let's look at the window. Actually, there's windows up here I haven't even covered yet, so let's put in a dark window up here. Like so, and this one. And they also, like this here that holds people in, this too will hold you in. It stops you racing out of the top of the picture, I hope. That's the idea. And they've got a little bit of a ridge under the sill, like so, under that sill, under this one. Let's get this window in, which we completely omitted too. Let's put that in. Okay, let's just put a bit of detail into this here. Let's give these bits of stone a little bit of form. I'm not sure how they would be exactly. Broken, dirty, dark, gungy, whatever, I don't know. Let's just put them in like so, and they will have also a residual effect in the reflections, so let's just administer to one or two of those in the reflective form. Okay, this has got dark in here. That little step is dirty, gungy from years of the water. Let's put that in as the base of that, and again that will have a reflection away from there, and that highlights that edge of that stone quite nicely too. Now let's go into the top of this arch. Now this is where my pencil line that was in the way is now disappeared, it's gone. We can take this line up a little higher, and there we have a lovely archway in stone, light as we'd sought after. Bring our colours down. We have a little cap through here, which I didn't put in, but we can set to that now, like so. Just take that down. Soften this edge because I don't want it to be the same colour all the way over it. Don't want it to be too strong. It does catch the light going in, and by doing that you actually allow the light to be, or the sense of light to allow depth going in. You can feel that you can go in there. That really is important. Just a slight edge on there. I want to try and lose some of that. Right, so that goes round the face. Bit of darker blue now, a little bit of that violet, a little bit of the blues. That's too strong. Keep going into the wrong pat of colour. There we go. Let's take some of that down. I'm going to reduce that colour there and just take it away a little bit, so we get the same sort of effect going on, but now we're coming down in a blue. We first put that first blue in, and now we're coming down with the next colour all the way down into there. A little bit more. Just tidy it up at the bottom. Okay, pretty much sorted that one, and that window's good. I'm quite happy with that, but again it could be a little darker on one or two of these areas here, just to suggest that that's coming at a different angle down. That's fine. Okay, and there's a little sill down, a little ridge down there. Try and put that little ridge in and underneath. Can't really see that one on that side because it's blind to us. There's a slightly deeper one at the top. Okay, we've got that area there. We could have had a nice light around it, and there is some sort of structure in the brickwork or block, whatever, and that runs across an angle like so. So we can start drawing one or two of these other shapes and forms in quite loosely like so, and create those little effects that are missing. A little bit of breakage on the side there, a bit of a pipe or something at the top there. Just little taps of the brush, but they are so suggestive. You've got a bit of something that's running. There's a window up here. I actually haven't put this one in at all. I do apologise. Let's just put our other window in here. Merely a shape, a very thin line. That's all it needs to suggest that it's a window, but there's some sort of line that's running through there, a bit of cabling I guess underneath, and then that can sort of come off, and that's a nice directional line. It actually helps lead you in to this area, which is really important. These little things you pick up on and utilize them. There's some, I don't know quite what this is here. I think it looks like a broken bit of something, and there's, I don't know, forms and a little bit edge to that there. Shadow of that box underneath. Let's bring that down like so. A little bit warmer maybe. Well, those thunderstorms that I heard earlier rumbling away have come to nothing, come to naught. Never mind, another time. I'm going to put that line, that one in there, and I'm going to put that one back in there. Gives me an excuse to put in that broken line and a broken line through there, and reinforce that one through there. And I'm sure there's other things I've completely missed out of this, but you'll have to forgive me for that one. I'm not going to put in the graffiti, tempted to, but it's so wrong. Why people have to do those sorts of things to such a beautiful place. Some more darks in here. Actually, I wanted to put in a little bit more coming out of this here, a little bit dark coming down here that reinforces this area. So let's just put that in, but soften it as it comes away, and then of course it will get that much greener as it comes down here and just melds into this area down, right down low. And a bit more blue into that green. I'm gonna find a use for that blue that I picked up one way or another. I'm just going to put in a little strength in one or two of these colours down through here, which is quite nice as well, just to finish it off. We're almost done. I'm sure there'll be something that I can see tomorrow in the cool light of day, but right now I think we're pretty much done. I don't really need to do too much more to it. Leora, this guy, I love those pens, nice opaque white. Oh, I've never heard of that, Alex, so I'm going to have a look for that. White Jelly Roll by Sakura. I'm going to look out for it. I've never painted at all, not at any kind of arts, but I think I'll give watercolours a go. And if it's good enough, I'll do my own back scenes for the layout. Cool, New Mills, that's great. Great idea. Leora, New Mills, it would be nice to do a back on full-size sheets of watercolour paper. Attach the foam boards as you could switch out panels according to the season. Very nice idea, Leora. That's cool. Can I book you to come round and do all mine? See, there's the connection, an N-scale model railroad. Now it makes a whole lot more sense why you made that comment. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done, got to be said, and just I's and T's right now, just playing around with one or two shapes and forms, a little break into that area. I wanted to straighten that out, but also some of these rough edges make it look like it's very, very old and decayed and all sorts of things going on in the water. A little bit of edge down there, just suggestive of the wall. A little bit darker in there maybe, that suggests that there is a bit of shadow, and there is the reflection. All these little bits and pieces that you can add in like so. There we go. I'm not trying to build any sort of brick form up. It's just not worth it. It just doesn't need it. So with that said and done, where are we time wise? 2 hours. Look at that. How good is that? Okay. So with that said and done, I hope that I haven't made a complete pig zero of this. And I hope I've done it a bit of justice. I think that this looks a little bit off here. Having said how to do it, and I sort of, mine seems to have a little twist in it.
but I can't see it here. Maybe just the way the screen is, I'm not too sure. But anyway, people, I'm going to sign it and I'm going to reveal the painting underneath. So let's just put a signature to this. And well, I'm going to put it down here out of the way. There you go, one signature, and let's pull the tape off and see what it looks like with a lovely white border. To me, this is one of the best parts of the whole thing, just revealing the edges of the paper. One bit long. Careful how this comes out. This must always be taken off when the paper underneath is really dry. Don't do it if you've got dampness in your paper, because what will happen is that if the dampness is very close to the edge on any of this, this tape will literally rip into the surface of the paper and you'll destroy it. I've done it myself too many times, and I know that is a very painful thing to have done. Let's just take the top off. There we go. Alright, one Venice picture. Hot on the heels of the last Venice picture. But I just fancy doing this. I fancy doing this upright format again, and it works very, very well. And it does for these Venetian scenes, certainly. But hopefully, there you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I hope you've got something from it, and enough to take away and have a go yourself. Alex, if you've done one, send me a picture. I'd love to see how you got on with it, and if I can give you a little bit of advice on it, I'll be more than happy to do so. Trudy, thank you very much for joining us, and that's fantastic. Thank you, Luke. I'm glad you joined in. We still don't know where you were for so long. Michael, thank you very much again for joining us. I think everybody who's joined us tonight, we've actually reached a record in terms of people watching. We've had, I think, as many as 34 or 5. I think I saw 36 at one point, which is amazing. And I thank each and every one of you for coming and spending your Friday evening with me for 2 hours. And I think all of you need to go and get a life. No, I'm not. I don't do that. I really appreciate what you've done. I appreciate the support you give. Fantastic. And long may you continue doing so. So yeah, Bridget, thank you very much. Ken, thank you very much. And you can go back to bed now. Yeah, you still got, it's only about 6 in the morning for you, so you can go back to sleep, my man. And I've enjoyed what you've been putting on the Patreon as well. That's really nice. Nice work. And Leora too. You've been putting some nice pieces on the Patreon channel. It's good to see you doing that along with Wendy and Judy. So yes, all my patrons, thank you very much, not only for your patronage but also the support in the endeavors on here as well. If any of you other artists out there watching this want to get involved with a bit more and help fund some of my efforts when it comes to creating content for you all, then Patreon is a great way of doing it, as is these streams. But certainly the Patreon is a way of getting a lot more from me and seeing a lot more content. So why don't you nip over there and take a look on my Patreon channel. And if you fancy getting involved, coffee, 2 cups of coffee a month, it's not a great deal, but you know, everything like that really helps me, and it helps finance all the work that I'm trying to do, which actually occupies probably about 80% of my waking week, is creating content, film, editing, and all these things, streaming as well. I will watch tomorrow the first part I missed and finish the piece. Lovely. Thank you very much, Kate. That's great. Thanks, Derek. Thanks for watching. See you Monday. Oh yes, don't forget Monday. It's the next stream, and we will conclude our Thames barge. I promise each and every one of you that I have not touched it. I have barely looked at it. It's on the easel behind me, and it's in exactly the same state as you last saw it. G Ben. Okay, yeah, no, thanks for just a minute. That's fantastic. And we do this twice a week, everybody. We do this on a Monday and a Friday at 7 p.m. London time. Every Friday it's a watercolor. Never any question of that. It's always a watercolor. And on a Monday it's either an oil or charcoal or pastel or something else. Mainly oils, because I really love painting in oil. So if you want to get more, then that's fine. And as I said, there's always Patreon if you want to take a look at that too. So in the meantime, people, what gonna ramble on as usual. I don't want to ramble on too much, but thank you ever so much, and your support is wonderful, and thank you. And yeah, it's good. So right now then, you must all stay safe, be happy, and happy amounts of painting too, loads of painting. And don't forget that, you know, I've been painting watercolor and oil and everything since I was knee high, and you just got to keep on. You've got to keep practicing. You've got to keep going at it. The best thing anyone can do for themselves is just draw. It doesn't matter. Color is the least important of all these things. Color is the consequence of drawing, eventual consequence of drawing. You must learn to draw first, and if you keep drawing every day, once, twice a day, as often as you can. If you're a working person, and I appreciate working lives are very, very busy lives, but at the same time, take the time, take a sketchbook and a pencil with you, a retractable pencil. You don't even need to have a sharpener or a knife, anything of that nature. Just take it out, and when you have a coffee break or where you have your lunch break, just sit outside or sit in the canteen, wherever it may be, and just do some sketches. Draw people, draw faces, draw caricature, whatever. But all of that drawing really is strengthening the hand, the eyes, and the brain to work together as one unit. And trust me, if you keep doing it, if you can do 2-3 drawings a day for 6 months, at least just 6 months, you will see such a difference. If you mark each drawing you've done, give it a little date, give it a number, and that way you can work this whole sort of passage of work over 6 months. Do that, and honestly, you will find your abilities will start improving exponentially. And you won't realize it at first, but honestly, if you look back to the first ones, you will see such a steep curve is being created by the learning you're doing. Ha! Right, so with all that little preaching over, I'm going to let each and every one of you get off and do whatever's left of your evenings to enjoy. And once again, it remains for me to say thank you for your support, and stay safe, happy painting, have fun, and yeah, it's the weekend, so have lots of fun, lots of parties, lots of beers, lots of drinks, lots of wine. Thank you. All the best, guys. Take care. I'll catch each and every one of you on Monday evening, 7 p.m, same time. It'll be fantastic. Tonight, Ben, take care. Wendy, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your support. Catch you soon. Judy, same to you. Alexander, thank you so much. And let me see that picture when it's done. Yeah. There you go. I'm going to let this stream just run on a little bit and let everybody say goodbye to each other, and then I'll just stop the stream in a little while, and that'll be it until Monday. Catch you all soon, guys, girls, everyone. Bye. I gotta go get a Guinness now. Cheers, Wendy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. That'll be fantastic. Thank you. good evening and good night. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again, as I hope to see all of you again very soon. Thanks for coming on board and having a look in. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did. And hope you got something from it. Alright everybody, I'm going to turn the stream off now. And yeah, call it a night. Go and have a beer. Take care everybody. And thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye bye.